have this saved. Okay. And an opportunity to see each other's classrooms, schools, and systems. So we'll do this as a group. We won't be able to get through everyone, like I said, but we'll do more in February. Um, Today's topic is really a grab bag of Children's House strategies. So we want to think about meeting needs, building independence, creating opportunities for engagement, and moving through daily rituals in community and learning. These are basically all strategies to keep things moving along. So we move through the progression of Montessori materials. There's a lot of strategies that we can employ so that we can get to the work at hand, and we'll talk about all of that as we go along. Here's some of our friends. You see Miss Brenda, Miss Francina. It's high quality interactions are what we are striving for. This is the basis for everything. When we have high quality interactions with our students, they start to have high quality interactions with each other, as you see in the third photo. High quality. So think about all of the times that you're engaging with children, engaging with each other. Is it intentional? Is it high quality? Are you thinking about things really purposefully, in how we are interacting with the children? And we're going to talk a lot about movement. And many of us went to a workshop on the weekend that talked a lot about movement. Dr. Montessori envisioned an educational method where children were purposefully moving all day long. Moving all day long. I think a lot of times we get sort of stuck in this idea that everyone needs to be engaged with something at a table, sitting down with their head down, focused on a material. That is true too, but we also need movement. We also need to have movement. And and you've probably seen me show this many times. These two photos side or above each other, the dishwashing. This up above is in Edina and dishwashing outside. And I love that there's the curious onlookers. The curious onlookers. One moment, please. And down below, 100 years ago, children doing dishwashing, curious onlookers up here in the corner. I mean, that is just really something amazing, I feel. That children haven't changed. They're all still curious. They still want to do things. They want to learn how to do things. They want to be shown how to do things. So, can we ask ourselves, is there a question, or excuse me, is there a reason now more than ever? Oh, hold on. I just lost my share. 1 second. Let me get back on this. Something happened. Apologies. Uh-oh. I love tech issues. Okay. Let me fix something really quick. I'm going to pin. There we go. All right, that's what I needed to do. So, can we ask ourselves, is there a need now more than ever for purposeful movement? Oh my goodness gracious, yes, there is. Look at these iPads. Look at what the children are struggling with, what parents are struggling with, what we are struggling with as a society with children and their need for this stimulation. Their brains are really changing in front of our eyes, where they're getting all of this information through these iPads and tablets and phones and everything that's happening with all the screen time. The children are with us so many hours of the day that they're with their families very, very little. And when they are, a lot of the time, let's just be real about this, a lot of the time they are on devices. And so this stimulation is coming right into their eyes, right into their brain, and they're entertained and they don't need to do anything. They are passively sitting there with all of this information coming at their faces, right? They're not interacting, they're not moving their bodies, they're not engaging with the environment at all when they are on these devices. And it is affecting their ability in the classroom to know how to handle themselves, to know how to engage in an environment that doesn't have screens. It is more important than ever that we figure out how to meet these needs because we know that this is real. And I put my little friend here holding the basketball with his COVID mask. A lot of these children still were born during COVID, and they are still feeling the after effects of the pandemic. So I am certain that you guys are seeing behaviors that you may not have seen earlier in your career that need addressing, and we can't ignore that they're there. And we expect children to be able to come into our environments and engage with materials and do the work the way that we've always taught when those of us that have been doing this for a really long time, remember a different time with children and their attention and their ability to calm themselves and stay focused. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Because children are not meant to be sedentary all the time. They're just not. Look at what children are meant to be doing. But they're on these screens. And so then when they get into an environment without screens, they just don't know what to do with themselves because they are used to this kind of movement, or their biology is telling them they need this type of movement. And this big type of movement is really challenging in the casa, in the children's house. Casa is what we used to call it in my old school, but this is what it's very challenging. And so, how are we going to meet these needs, and get through our work with the children? So we're going to talk about the power of purposeful movement. Now, this photo here is from Burnsville. Brittany and I attended an observation at a school where they completely rearrange all of their tables at lunch to do community tables. And that purposeful movement every single day, it's part of the work cycle. At the end of the work cycle, the children are two by two moving these tables and creating. I'm not saying everyone has to do these things. I'm saying get the information and think about what you might like to do with it. Okay. So they move all, and Brittany and I were just watching this entire thing. It was like choreography that was all happening so purposefully, and children knew just how to do it. Um, if there is questions, am I sharing the slideshow afterwards? Yes, I will. Um, but please try to jot down notes that stand out to you, because while you're writing and you're listening, that is going to help you internalize the information. Okay, so we want to talk about unity of mind and body. Movement and thought are inseparable. Purposeful action develops intelligence and understanding. Independence through action, meaningful movement. Not movement for no purpose, but meaningful movement allows children to care for themselves and their environment, building autonomy and confidence. Concentration and coordination, repetition in physical tasks refines control, grace, and sustained focus. And I would be willing to bet that Brittany would say that the first time they did this, it wasn't easy. The now many months in that they've been doing it, the children just know what to do. And that physical movement of moving these tables together and moving all of these chairs and setting these tables, this is purposeful movement. And it frees their mind to be able to focus on their work at other times of the day when they have this kind of movement need satisfied. Um, Order and harmony. So purposeful movement brings structure to the child's inner and outer world, fostering calm and balance. Joyful, purposeful work is movement expressed through real activity. It gives children satisfaction, belonging, normalization, right? And I know that I'm just going to say it one more time. We really have this it's almost like this unspoken goal that we've made for ourselves every day, that every child is sitting somewhere working on something totally concentrated for an extended period. This is not realistic anymore, if it ever even was. Children do need movement. And so, how do we channel that movement into an energy that they can use towards their work later and in between all of these movement activities? Okay. So, how can we amplify movement in the classroom, right? We have so many things that already have movement involved in them. If you've got more ideas, please put them in the chat if you feel like it. Otherwise, just off the top of my head, without even thinking, I was like sweeping, dusting, washing windows, scrubbing, rolling rugs, carpet sweeping, carrying plants for plant care, washing dishes after snack and lunch, walking on the line, moving furniture to set up for community lunch, bringing extra chairs out of the room during work time and then back into the room again. Those of you that have had me observe in your classrooms, one of the number one things I say to almost everyone is we can't have all these two-person or three-person tables in our classroom during work time. It makes concentration so difficult. So then we're like, well, where do we put these chairs? If your school has an area, like I'm thinking Plymouth, you have this huge open area, you guys could have the children bring the extra chairs out. I know these wooden chairs don't stack very well, so that's why them carrying them out for the work time and then bringing them back for lunchtime. This is stuff that not every school could do everything, but we can definitely try. Balance boards, wobbly stools, chairs. Yep, Kathy, we're going to talk about those things too. But these movement that is attached to, shall I just say, chores or care of the environment, this is going to be extra purposeful, right? This is going to help them satisfy some of those things we talked about, being part of a community, feeling like you are working towards a goal with other people. And there's a routine and a consistency, and the movement gets refined. That is big work for these children. I just recently discovered that Miss Erin in Edina is doing amazing cloth washing in her work. Look at the big, huge work that's happening with this the cloth washing. And Miss Erin, if you wouldn't mind, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you want to unmute and just talk about this for a minute? What gave you the idea to do this? What challenges have you had? Where do the cloths come from that they're washing? Are they dirty from something else? And then the children wash them? Erin, if you feel like you could right at the moment, just tell us a little bit about this, if that's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Well, we tried to decide like we want to be as, good for the environment as possible. So we wanted to, see if we could try cloth napkins instead of paper napkins at our school. And
Hmm.
then I've always had this like uh, washing board, and I thought, what if I just set this up, after lunchtime and see if anyone wants to wash the napkins? And it's been a really popular work. In fact, all of the students now know how to wash them. So at any time, I'll just, put the basket of dirty napkins on the dishwashing stand, and they'll just start washing them.
Amazing. And look at that collaboration and look at that focus and look at I'm sure that, sometimes there's a drip of water on the floor and then they clean it up, right? Like this is part of it. We can't be afraid of wet things, right? We can't be afraid of things that might make a mess. What challenges have you had and how did you overcome them?
Mhm. Well, actually, these napkins are from Amazon. They're just some beautiful cloth napkins and I like that they're really big because afterwards they have to fold them, just like the folding work that we have. Um, but the challenges at first, it was kind of my part because I had to show them how to correctly wring everything out. So when you're giving the presentation, you have to be very detailed and just demonstrate to them that not even one drop can come out, and then you hang it up. We started with a towel underneath the drying rack, and now we don't even need it because they wring it out so well that they're almost dry when they hang them. And then they're also responsible for taking those big, heavy buckets to the sink to dump them out, and that's challenging.
Ah.
Some of the younger friends can't do it, but the older friends can do it. And, we've had some spills and things, but now they're getting much better at it.
Yeah. Wow, thank you so much. And I want to just highlight one thing in particular that you said. It is all in how you give the presentation.
Mhm.
What one of the sort of pitfalls is we have an idea, we put out a material or an activity, but we don't meticulously show the children how to do it. And then we end up with thinking, oh, this can't work. They're not ready. We can't do this, right? And that is it really does take time. And it also means that you really have to show them exactly what you're talking about. What she's saying, it's this, these points of consciousness that we learned about in training. When you lift the cloth out of the water, you have to squeeze it all the way out. You could wring it, you could squeeze it, and you have to look when you pick it up. Are there any drops? And call the child's attention to the drops of water. And like she said, they don't even need the towel anymore because they squeeze out so much water that nothing is dripping. It's just going to evaporate. And that is the key to all of the things we're going to talk about today is showing them how to do it with meticulous care and attention to detail. And children would not be doing this work unless they had had a presentation. This is really, really important. Erin says we have a table with two holes for dish pans and sinks. Oh, is that a separate stand from your dishwashing? Yep. So that's a separate one that she has. That was a table with cutouts. Yeah. But there, you can absolutely set this out. When I learned this in training, actually, I learned this on like getting a runner from like a hardware store, like a long piece of plastic runner that you might put in front of your door in the winter. And the bins were kept on the shelf, stacked up with the materials inside, and the children would lay out the runner on the floor and then set up the bins and the materials for this work on the floor, and then they'd be leaning down over it with their body weight. So this doesn't have to be a standing work. It can be something that you don't need to have a stand like this to do. You can be something that is a floor work. So they're leaning over it and using their body muscles and movement in that way. So don't let it be a barrier to you that if you don't have an extra stand like this. So that was a really important question. Thanks, Megan. And oh, awesome, Nikki. All right, you guys, I love your open-mindedness to trying new things. This is so great. And I think that in Wyzetta, I set it up that way with as a floor work. That was a few years ago, so I'm not sure if they still have that in CH1, Miss Radica. I'm not sure. And Heidi, if you have that. But that was a work that I put in that room a long time ago. Okay, we're going to move on to this idea of fetching. So when I shared this presentation with Jana, I've always felt a little funny about the word fetching because they're not dogs, right? It felt a little bit weird for me to say the word fetching, but Jana was like, she calls it requesting. She's like, you don't have to change it in the presentation, but I use the word requesting. It feels a little bit less like you're training a puppy. And I was like, oh, I love that. Sometimes Jana has learned things in a different way than I did, and I love learning it. We do it as a floor work with a towel underneath too. Thanks, Nikki. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so the basically the idea of fetching or from going forward, we're going to call it requesting, is that an adult sits at a distance from the child and asks them to bring something specific to their work, whatever work they're doing. So it's the act of retrieving, carrying, or delivering materials. Remember, we're talking about purposeful movement in the classroom. It builds coordination, sequencing, and independence. It's always tied to real purpose. And this is done at all ages in the children's house, from the very first ones that come in to the ones who are about to go off to first grade. There's always fetching or requesting. It's going to take a little while for me to rewire the way I talk about that with the children. So it gives children a purposeful task to complete, a sense of accomplishment, encourages respect for the environment and peers as they navigate space, reduces adult intervention, right? It keeps the adults sitting down. So we're not constantly running around putting out fires. If I've observed in your room and I've been like, make sure you try to sit down once in a while, right? Because we get into this habit of running around, making sure that everything is moving the way it should be, but we don't give the children the opportunity to figure that out for themselves. So obviously you're supervising and there's nothing unsafe happening, but we do want to have the adults sitting down quite a bit. So the adults are sitting, it's calming the energy in the room where it engages balance and grip and bilateral coordination. It encourages controlled, graceful movement. It deepens concentration through purposeful repetition. And we're multitasking while we're requesting. We're not just sitting there with one child asking them us to bring us things, right? We can be doing this with multiple children at a time. So I've been doing observing I've been so fortunate to be in Miss Claudia's room, and Mr. Marty is doing a lot of fetching with a lot of children. And we'll talk about that in a second when we get to the language part of it. But at that, you know, sometimes he has 5 to 7 children at a time, right? So this is a great task for support staff to do, to build relationships with the children, be directly involved with their teaching. It frees up the guide to give presentations because that support staff is also minding the whole room to see if there's something dangerous happening. And you're observing and taking notes at the same time. So this is a perfect opportunity for support staff to be very involved and engaged with the children's learning. And if you know about the 3 period lesson is a brilliant strategy. It's cementing the knowledge of new vocabulary and concepts. So simply put, the first period, the adult names the items, right? You don't do fetching or requesting with a child if they don't know what it is that they're bringing. So that part has to be done first with the presentation. Then the child is engaging with the items in a variety of activity. Hand me this, put that there, move it over here. You know, and you say the name of that object every time that you move it or every time that the child does something with it. So every time that child is hearing the name of it, it's more and more solidifying in their mind body so that then at a certain point you can say, what's this? And they just know it. They just know the name. Fetching is essentially an effective way to do the second period. And fetching builds relational pedagogy through spending this time together. So requesting or fetching is a really valid way to do the second period of of a vocabulary or otherwise enriching type of activity. We're going to talk from each part of the room what this is about, how this looks. So, from the very, very beginning, with very small young children that come into the children's house, when new children come into the environment, a good way to acclimate or orient them to the environment is by requesting with a small group, some experienced children and some fresh to the room. They could bring all kinds of things, also reinforcing how to carry things. This is how we carry a scissor. We don't let the blade be exposed as we're walking through the room. So they could carry, a cup from the snack hutch and put it back. Carry a pencil on a tray and put it back. Carry this pair of scissors and put it back. A dustpan and brush, a working mat, a chowky, a polishing object, a watering can, and so on and so forth. So that you have some children with you that know the room really well. And while they go get something that is maybe more obscure, the young children are seeing, oh, that's a watering can. That's how we carry it. When we carry a watering can, we carry with our thumb over the spout so that when we turn it, it doesn't drip water all over the room, right? So we're showing them how to carry things, but they're also learning what things are, what they're for, and where they're stored in the classroom. So that's something with with the young children as they're coming in. And think about everything in sensorial. It's perfect for requesting because just about everything, not just about, everything does have a name or a property. So colors of the color tablets, bring one that is just lighter or just darker, right? That remembering it and going to get it and bringing it back brings a whole nother awareness. They have to navigate all of the distractions of the classroom as they go to get that one thing and bring it back to you. Things in the geometry cabinet, geometric solids, the botany cabinet. Jana, again, I love she has different names for things. We learn them in my training as distance matching and distance grading. She calls them far and away games. That's way more fun to call them that. Far and away games. So sound cylinders, smelling bottles, Barrick tablets, thermic tablets, touchboards, bells, red rods, fabrics, just about everything. You can have them do distance matching and distance fetching, distance grading, all of those things. This is that purposeful movement. And now here, requesting in the language area, oh my goodness, so many things. Sound games, bring me something that starts with bring me something that ends with s. Whatever you're working on with sound games with the children, have them fetch, request it, and have them bring it to you. Sandpaper letters. I was just observing at Golden Valley the other day, and Casey was doing this. She had sandpaper letters on the working mat, and she was asking children to bring things from the environment to match those sounds. I would love to see a chowky next to it so that every time a child, before they go and when they come back, that they're tracing that letter on a chowky, because anytime we're doing tracing or writing, we need to be at a proper posture. So you want to have it on a chowky so they can trace it, put it back on the working mat, go get that object, bring it back, trace it again. We want the children tracing those sandpaper letters every single time we're doing anything with them, because then when they go to write, that movement will already be ingrained in them. So we don't ever want to miss the opportunity for tracing. Always have the tracing happening at the same time as we're doing any sounds with sandpaper letters. So the farm, function of word activities, so many things. Vocabulary, sorry, this is kind of a fuzzy, it was a screenshot that I took, but the vocabulary cards. Keep a binder cheat sheet of what cards are in each set so the adult can sit in their chair with the binder and has the names right in there. Miss Claudia, would you be willing to show your binder that I see you guys using all the time and sort of show us what a page or two looks like in there?
Yes, I can. So I made a binder to help Mr. Marty and sometimes me too because I don't remember the name of everything. And then I put it in a plastic bag, and when I make the copy, I make like it smaller so I can fit like 4 or 5 pages on each of them. So like one page will have all the cards, like all the parts of a fish. So all the cards that I have on my shelf right now, they are in this little binder. So if Mr. Marty is doing, and maybe I was working with someone else, so we don't need like to just hold the binder. I just take the page, do the work with the child, and then I bring the page back. So I feel that like it's been super helpful, like for both of us, because we can engage the children and then um,
Mhm.
continue to work and give them the names of things. So they love doing this.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Claudia. That's super helpful. And while they are doing that requesting, that fetching, they bringing the items, we're preparing them for reading because the more spoken words, the more spoken vocabulary they have under their belt, when they come across that word and they're sounding it out, they're like, "Oh, I know what that is. That's sunflower. I know that. That's a sunflower." When they're reading in a story and they come across the word sunflower, they will remember because they've been doing all this fetching, this requesting with and it could be, I've seen it with him doing it with dinosaurs, all kinds of things. So you want to make sure not to get, so you know how children, their sense of order, they're creatures of habit, right? So you don't want to get stuck in doing this all day long every day. This can't be the only thing going on in the room, right? But this is something that could be happening at least a little bit each day with different kinds of things. Because you could have one child doing fetching of language cards while you have one child doing, the color tablet just lighter or just darker, and one child doing the bring me the, sound cylinder that is just louder than this one, etc. So this is great for support staff to do. You get to work directly with the children and you are essentially engaging with purposeful movement, a group of children, freeing up the guide to be able to give presentations to other children. So math, I mean, I have this picture in here twice because this is just such a perfect example of math, of fetching with math. So it's a powerful tool in retaining this idea of quantities and also numbers. You can have them bring you red rods of different lengths. You can have them bring you sandpaper numbers. Again, don't miss the opportunity for them to trace those sandpaper numbers. The child brings a tray with a number of something on it, such as bring me 5 red pencils, right? All of those things are going to integrate that knowledge into the child because you're using their whole body to do it. Golden beads and decimal cards. This is classic. I used to sit and do this so much with my children. So I would have a little scratch paper on the side because I would never remember what number I told them to bring because I'm probably doing several other things. So I would say to the child, bring me 5,634 from the golden beads, or I would have them bring it from the cards. And when they're ready, cards and beads. And then you'd have your little cheat sheet because I would never remember because we always want to count and verify, trust and verify. So then we'd count it out together on the tray, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Then you have 600s, 100, 200, and that repetition and the counting, and they're standing there and they're holding a tray. All of this is physical, purposeful activity for them. So again, the adult might jot down the number to remember while the child is fetching, but always count and recount and verify the amount. That's brings the purposefulness back into it. I saw this with Miss Beth at Edina. She was having a child fetching every state from the United States. She was in a chair and the child had his mat at a distance and he was bringing Delaware, he was bringing California, he was bringing, Idaho. He was bringing all of the states of the United States one at a time and then placing them on the control map after he brought them to her. So this can be used for everything, anything and everything in our room. All right, so this is a little variation. This was honestly one of my absolute favorite activities was labeling the environment. I miss this so much. When I was a children's house guide, I loved labeling the environment. So sit in a chair with a stack of strips of paper, a pencil, and a pair of scissors. Know the child's reading level. So write out a word that they can sound out on the slip, let them sound it out, and then have them go place a label on an item in the room. Starting with something simple, the most simple thing in the world, at, at. And then they take that and they're like, mat. And they take that and go put it on the working mats. And then pretty soon you're going to have little labels all over the room. And the other children are going to see them and they're going to try to sound them out. And then when they're done, have them walk around and collect all of the strips and make it into a booklet. We're going to talk about bookmaking in a second. And you can also have prepared labels that are laminated that they can do independently or with a friend. And they don't need to, they won't make a book out of it afterwards. They'll put it away, of course. But doing this where you're actually writing it, they are seeing, do it on your lap on a clipboard so that they can see you writing, so that they see that movement. That is really important that the children see us writing. All right, and now we're on to bookmaking. bookmaking. Children love to make books, okay? And this isn't necessarily a movement activity, but it is an incredibly powerful strategy for helping children engage even more deeply with their work. So bookmaking is a powerful motivation for children to do purposeful work on paper. It extends the work, it develops concentration, it solidifies learning, it's readying them for the next material. This is what we're really trying to work on, is how can we get the children back engaged in the Montessori materials. I've been, as I go around, I'm looking to see what are all the children working on. And I don't see a ton of writing. And please don't be offended by that. If you're like, oh my God, I do writing all the time in my classroom. I'm just not seeing as much of it on a general level. And we need to help the children get to this point. And it doesn't happen by itself. We have to help them get there. Bookmaking is a great strategy. So preparation. So precision is important. The paper must be cut perfectly, or the child could get frustrated when his book covers and pages don't fit together. Even if he doesn't get frustrated, but the book just doesn't fit together, it doesn't work. We need precision. So the writing tray, which stays on the shelf, has blank and lined strips in it. Maybe two different lengths, one for words, one for sentences, or one that you can cut to the length of the word that you're writing. Erasers, scissors, sharpeners, a mini stapler. Next to it are the trays for gathering the supplies. So a child will put on that tray what they need and bring it to their table. And then the covers. So again, precision is very, very important. So the covers are cut from cardstock, whereas the pages in the book are cut from copy paper, not construction paper. We're not using construction paper for any of this, any of the bookmaking. It doesn't take colored pencils very well. It's really, really challenging for the child to be able to make the marks that they want to make on construction paper. And when we're making a book, it should be our very best work. So in the book supply station, you'll see a quarter sheet here. So this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and there's one line on it. And I have the templates of all of these, and I've sent them out before for you. But if you want me to send you these so you can just print them out like this and then cut them, I absolutely can do that because I have this all saved. Just send me a message. There's a half sheet where it's literally just cut in half, one line for a sentence, and then they draw the illustration above it. Full sheet where it's half lines and half blank space for writing a story and illustrating, and then covers to fit everything, the strips, the quarter sheets, the half sheets, the full sheets, 5 1/2 by 5 1/2 precision for metal inset booklets, geometry cabinet booklets. So now the child is finally ready to make their book. So then they have also, they're very proud. They have completed 5 quality as determined by them pages, gathering the covers. I always thought 5 was a good number for a book. They could always go over that, but I didn't want them making books of like 1 or 2 sheets. I thought 5 was actually a really good number, and let them choose what is your 5 best pages that you are so proud of that you want to make a book out of. And we don't place our judgment on it. Let them choose what they think. So the bookmaking tray holds a dispenser of yarn, twine, or ribbon, and scissors to cut it, a 2-hole punch. And for strip books, they can use that mini stapler. That mini stapler is not, like, you can hardly hurt a fly with it. So I wouldn't worry. But if you really are nervous about having a mini stapler, then you can just have them come to an adult to have it stapled afterwards. But after the supplies are away, they get the colored pencils from the art shelf or writing shelf and embellish their cover. And they're very, very proud of their bookmaking. I literally made these in my house the other night and then recycled them immediately afterwards because I don't need to keep them, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. So these are, maybe they were labels from the environment, or they're just phonetic words that they're working on. And then these are the covers, and then you staple it together and they get to write, I wrote my name on it. Just like to, and this is what it looks like. And then same with this. This is huge, you guys, having strips where they practice their letters. I couldn't bring myself to do it in print because I'm so used to doing it in cursive, but you can do this obviously in print. But when this is great writing practice, there's writing where they have the big easel chalkboard, and fill this chalkboard with as many as you can. Big ones, little ones. How many as can you fit on this? Big as, little as. And then when they get more and more refined and they're ready to do it on paper, they can do strips, and they have, at least 5 to make a booklet, and then they get to staple it and decorate their cover. So sky's the limit for bookmaking. Children can make all kinds of books by bookmaking encourages repetition, concentration, and is one of the rare tangible examples of work that goes home to families, right? We don't have cookie cutter art projects. We don't have worksheets. So there's not a lot of physical stuff that goes home. This is one of them. Phonetic words, phonograms, labeling the environment. I used to take paper that had the lines, the dotted lines and the, where it's solid, dotted, solid all the way across, and I'd cut it lengthwise into thirds so that I had so they could write a list of words on there. And then I had covers that fit those exactly. When they're doing their phonograms and they're like ash, bash, cash, dash, etc., all the way down. And then they wrote it on a piece of paper. And whenever they're writing something that they did on a mat, you have a Chowkey next to it so that they can write on the Chowkey for that posture. Word and illustration, all of these parts of right? Trace and write the names of geometry and botany cabinet shapes, countries, states. What else can you think of? Everything. They can do so much bookmaking. So another tool with helping re-engage them in metal insets is using that tool of rotating materials. So what I would always have in my room was 2 metal inset boxes or for paper, one with white and one with a single color, not multicolor, not lots of different colors in there, but one color at a time. Because then each month you and the support staff can swap it out for a different color and don't say anything. Let the children discover that, oh my gosh, there's a different color in the metal insets. It brings them back. They need all the practice they can get with that pincer grip. And again, we're using copy paper, never construction paper, and it's cut precisely 5.5 by 5.5. And show the children the many stages of metal insets. There's like 9 or 11 based on your training. There's so many different ones, and don't forget to show them those ones afterwards. Those of you that are on academic committee, we've done this slide before over there. Creating intentional displays in a classroom fosters an environment of respect and pride. Each item exhibited should have a specific purpose, showcasing concepts we're learning beautifully while minimizing clutter. By curating displays with care, adults model the importance of aesthetics and functionality, which enhances student engagement and creates a calming atmosphere that promotes learning and creativity. And think of all the work that comes out of having these purposeful little displays. They're polishing items, they're vocabulary items, they're made out of different materials. They have a different weight, a different temperature. When you touch that wooden dolphin versus the metal loon, it's going to feel differently. They can take an object and draw it with drawing paper. There's so many things you can do by having sweet little displays like this that you change up throughout the year. Etc. So that I loved so much. We talked about this Chowkey side note. Whenever a child is writing on the floor, they need to have a Chowkey. Without one, they're bent over their work. So I'm still seeing children on clipboards bending over their work. They're crouched over their work. Make sure that they have a Chowkey. If they want to write it on a chalkboard or on a clipboard on a Chowkey, that's fine. But they need to have the Chowkey so they're not at terrible posture and wrist alignment. Okay, so support staff role in bookmaking. It's important that support staff understand the use and benefits of bookmaking, and what you can do to support it is be enthusiastic about it. If a child is interested in something, you can encourage them to go a little further by making a book. Make sure that the writing tray, covers, bookmakings trays are fully prepared every day, fully stocked and tidy with precisely cut pages and covers. All writing and colored pencils are sharpened. Ribbon, yarn, twine is stocked and not a big tangly mess, right? This is stuff we have to do this every single day to make sure, because the children aren't going to want to do this work if they go to the shelf and everything is just a mess and there's only one sheet left and it's cut funky and jagged on the edges and the twine is all a mess, right? So encourage them to ask friends for help with lining up their pages and covers. For punching or stapling, that's another important refinement of movement piece, or try again themselves. Because a lot of times they're like, I'm ready to make a book, and they hand it to the adult who then punches it and ties it for them. It's like you're taking away their opportunity to learn. Look through their completed book with them and ask them questions. Remember, we're not going to be like, oh, good job, this is beautiful. Ask them questions about it. Get them engaged, get them thinking about it, take an interest in what they're doing. Okay, I'm trying to go fast. Working mats and care of the environment. So working mats are usually viewed as one of the four choices of where to do your work, right? Table, chowkey, mat, or a standing work like dishwashing, flower arranging, cloth washing we talked about earlier. This school has their food work. It's a standing work, their food work. But working mats also have a lot to offer when it comes to purposeful movement. Take a look at this video. So in Jana's environment, and I never did it this often, but I totally see the value in doing it. The children, along with the adults, would unroll and roll every single working mat at the end of every single morning, at the end of every single day. So this brings order, refinement of movement, respect for one's environment, and teamwork. I always did it with the children at the end of every single day. I never thought to do it at the end of every work cycle as well, but this is really, really important work. And did you notice how that child laid it down to unroll it instead of standing and flipping it? Right? That is a really important thing. We don't want them flipping and getting dust in everybody's eyes. And it's really hard then to lay it out. So having them unroll it on the floor is super important. And Jana was, when I showed her this presentation, she was like, put these videos in here because this is what I did every single day with my children. It's making a rectangle into a cylinder. Think about that. A flat rectangle rolled up into a cylinder. You can make a forest of mats. I used to love to show the children how to roll them so straightly and so tightly that they could literally stand up vertically. It takes a lot of concentration, a lot of refinement of movement, but I would have the children roll it so tightly and have them standing vertically, and we could walk away and see all these working mats standing on the carpet, not in a holder, but on the carpet. Make a forest of mats. If your mats are floppy, wash them and then hang them to dry. That will stiffen them. Okay. If they're still floppy, try putting them in the dryer for a little bit but take them out right away so that they don't dry crinkly because they're really hard to smooth out after they've been dried crinkly. I saw something in the chat. We as the adults need to model laying on the floor and rolling it in your lap versus rolling it in your lap and standing rolling it. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sherry, for that. We're not going to stand there as adults and hold it up to our chest and roll it in the air. That is so impossible for a child to do. We never want to do that because then they will try and they will be frustrated and we want to set them up for success and to master this type of rolling first. So this is super important. Pay attention to how many mats you actually need in your room at once. Put extras away. You don't want to run out, but also be realistic about how many you need. There's no need for piles of mats. We have a lot of mats in all of our schools, and let's put them aside if we don't. Just count how many you actually need for the day. Any given day, find the right holder. Now, this holder here can be great if they're rolled up properly. So that's totally fine. But figure out the right holder. So vertical divided holders are great if the mats are rolled tightly. Vertical baskets like this, they never really look like this, you guys. They're nearly impossible for children to manage. When you've got like this kind of sort of wicker laundry basket thing, the children put them in it, they cave in, they flop over. It's really, really hard. They put one in that's like going across the inside bottom of it, and then anything on top of that is like not touching the bottom. It's really, really challenging. So, I mean, those of you that have these vertical ones, these ones in the middle, like baskets like this, or even like more wide, like baskets that have a really high side and they flop down like this. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The fireside baskets are a great option. Remember to make it possible for the child to manage it themselves. And just as often found at thrift stores. These fireside baskets are awesome. Jana just shared these pictures on Instagram as I was making this presentation. So I asked her to text me the photos so I could put them into this presentation. Perfect timing. So if you don't have the vertical ones that have the slots divided, this is a great option. Dusting the shelves. So this was in Wayzata a couple years ago. Very, very carefully unroll a working mat, meticulously place one material at a time on the mat until the one level of a shelf is empty. Use the duster to dust the shelves and dust the materials, and then meticulously place back the materials. So you can see she's already done the top shelf. See how everything is edged on the edge? Now she's putting things back in the second shelf, and she's pushed them back, but I bet that her name was Ren, little sweetheart, she would have pulled them out to edge them along the edge, because that's how children can manage making a shelf organized, is pulling them towards the front edge. But this dusting a shelf allows them to touch materials that they haven't been shown that they're curious about, because they're not going to mess it up. They're just taking them off and putting them back. So having them dusting the shelves is a great presentation. Oilcloths and table mats. So match the work to the type of mat. If something that is wet, use vinyl or an oilcloth that can be cleaned up or wiped. For something like the binomial cube, here's Burnsville. They've got these cloth, they're like mini working mats. A cloth table mat is perfect to protect the pieces and keep them from getting lost, because those binomial and trinomial cube pieces, they get chipped on the corners. And he's got a couple off of his mat, but then the adult can come by and say, oh, remember where your pieces, they all need to go on the mat. And we can help guide that child to putting things back on the mat. It keeps so that we don't lose the pieces, and it protects them. Every pouring work should have a mat, even just something as simple as spooning like this. It prevents messes from spreading everywhere. Typically, it's less experienced children that are doing this kind of work, so their chances of their messes are a little bit bigger. We want to give them a mat to help from those beans or whatever going everywhere and being hard for them to manage. So from open to close, always use working mats no matter where, no matter when. So for extended day or aftercare or before care, when using like bucket toys or pan toys or, loose parts like Lincoln Logs, Legos, blocks, Tinker Toys, other manipulatives, children should have the same expectations as during work time. I hear this a lot. In aftercare, it's such a mess. The toys are everywhere. Well, are we giving them a way to manage it themselves? Give them working mats to have in aftercare. Materials that are done on a working mat, which is rolled and unrolled just like in the classroom. Materials are treated the same way as they are in the classroom. So that is, absolutely super important. And I know a lot of the Children's House guides are gone by the very end of the day. So help our support staff get the materials they need, show them how to present this to children, how to roll and unroll a working mat. And you can make some guidelines. 2 children per working mat if they're doing Legos, and keep the box on a mat. If the box is taking up too much space, say you can have 2 working mats, one for your box and one to work on. But we want to give them the same expectations all day long, or we can't expect the same outcomes. We just can't. This might be slightly controversial. I know that Jana's training did not have this putting the empty tray back on the shelf. So if this is against your philosophy, totally, I respect that. But think about it. Having the children put empty trays back on the shelf, we're back to this purposeful movement, right? Especially when they're working with Practical Life and other early materials, has many benefits. I get teachers saying to me that all the time, the children just don't remember where to put things back on the shelf. And then they start putting it in the wrong place, and then it's a whole mess where everybody's putting things in the wrong spot. So the child has 4 touch points to that spot, integrating purposeful movement and building memory. So going to get the materials, unloading them on the table, putting the tray back, doing the work, going back to the shelf to get the tray, and then cleaning up, and then returning that work to the shelf. So returning it to the shelf, you get 4 times purposeful movement. They're carrying things. They're carrying an empty tray sometimes, and they're carrying a full tray sometimes. So that requires different movement, right? The empty tray on the shelf prevents other children from accidentally putting their tray in that spot, further confusing things. So it keeps their table clear if they have space for the materials, especially for those people that have 2 people at a table. There's not a lot of space. And then yet another reason for individual work tables. But when you have 2 children working from the ends of a table, there's not a lot of space for all those boxes. So that also clears up space. It allows practice in taking materials off the tray and placing them gently onto the mat, It allows for the proper angle of wrist and shoulder when working with materials. Some people have children doing things in the tray. Then their elbows are up like this and their shoulders are up like this, and it's really not a good movement for their body. If a spill does occur, the child has an opportunity to practice cleaning up, using those skills, taking responsibility for oneself. That's a little toddler environment in Corcoran. So a full work cycle, a full work cycle consistently. Resist the urge to throw in the towel around 10:30. The children need this feeling of endless time that frees their mind and restrains from the restraints of time. Move on through false fatigue. I know that there's going to be extra energy around 10:15, 10:30. Move on through. Adults sit down. See what's gonna happen. But when we cut those work cycles short because we can't take the energy in the room, we are selling them short. And we have worked really, really, really hard to move all of our specialist teachers out of the work cycle, right? Remember, we used to have music and karate and Spanish and ASL and all millions of things in the work cycle where we didn't have a work cycle. So we've gone to extraordinary lengths to give them a proper work cycle. Please move on through and don't throw in the towel around 10:30. Montessori, we are Montessori schools, so we need to make sure they have the work cycle. So movement, many of us went to this workshop on the weekend. Just as many of our rooms have a quiet or cozy corner, if possible, find another spot for movement area. So, and it's very purposeful. So it's going to be really, really important that just like Miss Erin was talking about how to present that cloth washing, every single thing in the movement area is presented with the same meticulous care. So the key to success for having this in your room is how it is prepared and how it is presented with the exact same precision and care as everything else in the room. So some materials are better for a multi-purpose room than in the classroom, and not all of our schools have a multi-purpose room or a big room or a movement room, but some work fine in the classroom. So you have to judge for yourself what will work well in your room. And if it goes poorly, think first of all, how did I prepare it and how did I present it? That is going to be the first thing. And don't throw in the towel right away. Like this is a nice little movement area. In the classroom, have it very limited, but then have a variety and rotate it. So we're going to talk about some of the things on here, on these shelves. These are balance boards, so they can set those up and walk on a balance beam. The sit and spin, this may be better for a multi-purpose room than in your classroom. Okay. There's a sensory pod right here. This, and we'll talk about that. These are two sets of cards, one small, one large, that have matching circles. And we're going to talk about that in a second and what that goes with. And this is a little basket that has a roll of ribbon in it. We're going to talk about that in a second. And I think I'm not sure what's in there, if it's the kettlebell. There's a kettlebell that goes with these cards that might be in that basket. We're going to talk about each of these things. The wobble board is a good one too. So one thing that she showed us was a mat that she unrolled that is the silly mat. When you have a child that's just being so silly, you can say, it's all about being able to say yes to them. We have a place where you can be silly. I see that you need to really be silly with your body. And you have this intentionally very small cut yoga mat into a small, small thing. And you can say, this is a silly mat. And you can stand on this mat and you can be as silly as you want with your body, but you have to keep your feet on this mat. And I would also have this pointed towards like a corner or a large full-length mirror in the corner. Have them facing there so that they're not using this opportunity to be silly to try to distract everybody else in the room. I would have a full-length mirror or a focus, like a picture on the wall. This is what you look at while you're being silly like this. And it's rolled and unrolled. See, she had one of these little flower canisters from the florist, or you can get these at Michael's, but she had this rolled up in there, and that was specifically the silly mat. So these aftercare and extended day areas can be filled with these opportunities. Train support staff to know how to present them. It's how to present them that is the thing. This is one of those molded chairs. They can sit in it, they can spin around in it, they can toss this ball into it. But again, it has to be with precision. Is there limitations on the noise level of silliness? Yes. Thank you, Megan. There is. This is silent silliness. Let's just call it silent silliness. You can be silly over here, but it's silent silliness. And if it's not silly, if it's not silent, then it's not silliness that can happen in the classroom. So you must be ready to move on to something else. So here's some of the other things that she had. A foot roller, right? This is work that's done in a chair. It's on a tray on the shelf. And she found this at a thrift store or Facebook Marketplace. Kiki, you were there. You remember. That was fun, right? Alyssa, do you want to unmute and ask a question? I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I was gonna say, someone asked about the level of noise. I was at the workshop as well, and I asked about whether or not we're allowed to, tell them, hey, we're being a little bit too loud. And the presenter had said, yeah, this is a quiet silliness, but a lot of times kids are looking for a reaction. So maybe have them set up in front of a mirror so they can see their own silliness instead of looking to see what other people think of their silliness.
Yep, exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. And she had, and speaking of mirrors, and I can't remember if I put more in the presentation about mirrors, but mirrors are great. If you have a mirror in front of a work table and they can just do their work and look up and see themselves, that's great. If you have a little mirror and a set of emotion cards, they can look at the emotion cards and try to make that face in the mirror. Mirrors are a really, really important tool in all of this. So she has here a wobble board. She has the balance beams. This is, you see Miss Olga here from St. Anthony. So she was being very silly and trying to like act like she thinks a child might if they're dysregulated, and throwing things. And so Paige here said, I can see that you have, you want to throw things. Let me show you where you can throw things. And she had a mini bags or mini cornhole right here that you can get off Amazon or on Marketplace, whatever, and little tiny bean bags. And when you lay it out precision, just like any other presentation, just like the stamp game, just like the movable alphabet. And when you stand above it, you can kind of try to drop it in the hole. If you stand a little bit back, you try to drop it. But what it does is it focuses that energy towards that. It gives them a focal point, right? She had sensory brushes that they could brush themselves with. She had little Peapod fidgets, oral chewies, noise canceling headphones. Again, you guys know the DHS rules about sanitation for all these things, so just follow those. But these were things that were available to the children. Kathy, brave Kathy, went up and did the kettlebell presentation as the child. So you remember that I showed you on the shelf, there were two sets of cards, one with big circles, one with small circles, and they all matched each other. And there was a 5-pound kettlebell. And the way that a child carries it had to be with two rules because or 2 hands, excuse me. That is how we use kettlebells. And holding them with 2 hands also makes it nearly impossible for them to accidentally swing it and hurt somebody. So she would put a card with a color on the mat and the matching card at a distance somewhere in the room and do that, start out with just 2 or 3. And then you flip over the card here and say, oh, do you remember where you put the matching card and taking that kettlebell and walking it over and setting it on there and coming back? Oh, great. Now let's do another one. Can you go back and get the kettlebell and bring it back over here? So purposeful movement, that heavy, heavy movement. That was a really great, and it's almost impossible for them to hurt someone. Here's hopping work, Miss Anna. Hold on, I'm gonna just pause so we can watch one. Oh, no, go back. I want to go back 1 second. 1 second. So I see you have a lot of energy and you want to do some hopping. So she in the workshop did this on a working mat. I would absolutely never do that because 2 things. We never stand on our working mats and it's slippery on this floor. So I would have a yoga mat cut to size. That will be a way better surface to do this on. Okay. So all you need is the yoga mat cut to the right size, a length of ribbon. See, she just had like a satin ribbon right here in the width of the mat and a little container to put it in. So that's all you need. And you saw it on the shelf earlier. It was just that little black basket box that had the ribbon in it. So there was Paige showing us how to hop. Here's Miss Anna as the child. Takes a lot of focus to stay in that space. Don't make your mat too huge. Don't use a full length yoga mat. Cut it.
It's good hopping.
Right? And then rolling up of the ribbon. Oh, so she's rolling it up with the same precision that she did with rolling a mat. Maggie, go ahead and unmute if you have a question.
don't have a question, but I have that similar work, but mine's like the shelf liner and it
Ah.
has the line already attached. And then I have two felt dots that they can make them farther apart or closer together to jump back and forth. But that's what I
Thank you.
have.
Oh, Maggie, thank you so much. I love that. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. So remember, it's all about saying yes. You see a need, you see a child doing something, find a way to say yes about it, but in a way that brings them back to their bodies so that they are not just flailing about the room, unable to engage with work. Sometimes it'll just take doing one or two of these things and then they're ready to focus back on their work. This was a sensory pod. It's just like a little, it's got little nubbins over it. And let's see what this feels like when we put it on our skin. What happens when we lay on it on our belly? What happens when we sit on it with our bottom? It's on a tray, just like any other work, right? We have to give these materials the respect we give all of our other work so that we can, have this opportunity to show the children these different things. Again, your extended day rooms, your big rooms, your multi-purpose rooms, they can be set up with a lot of these things. If we set it up like a classroom is set up, they will understand the expectations way more. This was a vanity. Why can't this be a workspace? This was a vanity she found on Facebook Marketplace, and it has a mirror and a light. Why can't that be a work table? I love that so much. She had the foot roller down there. She had the body brushes here. This was just like little cloths and little clothespins to hang them just like they're drying cloths. An Etch-a-Sketch. Like this is a lot of this stuff can be set up in your big spaces, in your aftercare. It might take, if you don't have an aftercare room, it might take a moment for the aftercare staff to set up a few of these things and then put them away if it's not something that can be left out all the time. But there's, I know Sherry, you bought this little drum. This little beautiful drum was in your school, like little instruments, the little kalimba, have a corner so that it is designated, demarked, and maybe one or two is the limit of how many children can be in these. She had little 1 pound hand weights, and then there were little cards where they could do different exercises with the 1 pound hand weights. Okay, observation. Okay, we're running out of time, but because I really want to make sure we're done at 9:15. But we always start with observation to assess. Sometimes it seems the materials most frequently used, even by older children, are the very early activities. The book corner, a lot of wandering behaviors. I mean, are you seeing this? This has to do with what we talked about at the beginning of this. The children have a really hard time these days because they're on screens so much, they don't know what to do with themselves for 8 or 10 hours without screens. So we need to help them settle their body down with all of the things we talked about and bring them back to the work. Because are there content area materials collecting dust on your shelves? Probably. How can requesting, bookmaking, movement help engage children and move them through the progression of materials? How does lesson planning and record keeping make sure things are moving along? We're doing a disservice to the children by allowing them to stay hovering around in these early works without giving them the chance to fulfill their potential. So we do not have much time at all for this, but reflection discussion, we're going to do just like a super quick, and you know what? I want you to think about, maybe take a little picture of this so that you know what your questions are. How are we meeting the needs of children so they're able to fully engage with the environment and materials? What small changes could deepen our practice? What are some of the barriers and what can we learn from others to overcome them? We'll have a quick breakout session of about 7 minutes. And we're going to do this really quick. And so, you know what? Let me think about this breakout room situation. I'm going to actually I'm sorry, I was going to assign everybody so there's a leader in each one, but we're not going to have time to do that. So I'm going to just make 11 breakout rooms and see how the chips will land where they might. You might end up with all leaders in one, and we're just going to do our best. So we're going to go ahead and go into your room. And that's what we'll do. It'll be 7 minutes. I forgot to set it ahead of time, but go on to your breakout room, discuss what we learned.
Jess, I'm gonna hop off then.
Thank you, Jenny. I am so sorry.
You're welcome. You're
Just ran
fine.
out of
Don't
time.
worry.
I really apologize. Thank you for hanging in there with me.
Okay. No worries. Have fun.
Thanks. Bye.
needs and a lot of kids who are on IEPs. So
Okay.
in fact, we have these two spinning chairs, and sometimes I just have to set them up because, for example, I have one child who went to have her OT assessment and she spun for 5 minutes straight. And when they looked at her pupils after, they were totally normal. And the guy was like, this is how much movement she needs all the time. And she needs to hang upside down and she needs to. And so I have a lot of kids who have needs like that. So we have what do we have? We have the spinning chairs. We
Are
have,
they like the sit and spin for the chairs?
here, I'll show you. We ordered them especially.
Sorry, there
Hi,
was supposed
Jessica.
hi, there was supposed to be another person or two that was joining this, but it was a blank person. So when I did it randomly, it just came up this way. But I'm glad you two are connecting because you got a lot of things to share with each other.
It's like this spinning, like, and we have
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
and we have two of these. Actually, it was a former student. They were like, "What can we donate to your classroom?" And I was like, "I need these." And they have saved us this summer and into the fall because of all the rainy days, or if it's too cold, or if it's too hot, or we can't go outside, and we just sit these spinny chairs out. And I have kids who need them so much that when the time is over, I have to like rip them off of them because they just want to spin forever.
I know that time goes by really fast and we had so much to cover and I didn't want to miss any of it. So I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to really to do all the breakout room parts that I wanted to do. Um, but we'll let everybody join back in.
Cool.
Okay.
Autopilot.
All right. Let's see. Okay, so I know we're at 9:15, and we didn't get to do showing of rooms, and we didn't really get to have that breakout be as long as I wanted to at all. And so here's what we're gonna do. I have just like in all our PD, I've got a book giveaway. I have just one for Children's House, and all three of them are gonna be Minnesota. There's a Minnesota baby, there's a little this are toddler and infants, but I've got for Children's House this Minnesota book, and I have my trusty bowl that I always have at these PDs, and whoever's left in here hasn't won anything yet. So we'll see who wins, and I'll make sure to get you this book. All right, who is it? Was that a CH2? Way to go, Brianna, Linnea, and Mr. C. I'll bring that to you. So that ends our it's 9:15. So I'm going to give you two options. One, you can totally hop off because I know you've got a ton of work to do. Two, if you want to stay on and show your room or see other people's rooms or discuss anything that we talked about today, you're welcome to. So I will stay on, but I am not offended at all if you leave. Please send me a Slack or an email if you had any comments or thoughts or you liked this, especially if you liked it. Please tell me that you liked it. But if you have anything you want to share with me, send me a Slack or an email. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for all your hard work, all of you. You're rock star Montessorians. I appreciate you deeply. Bye, everyone. But feel free to stay on if you want to do a little like room tour situation. Or thank you, or discuss anything that we talked about today. Feel free to unmute if you have anything you want to share at the moment.
I'll give a little room tour if anybody wants to see.
Yeah, you guys, you should see Miss Chelsea's room. It's so beautiful. I'm going to make you spotlighted so that we can see your room, Chelsea.
I like that
Little
together.
loft there. Okay,
Okay.
for it.
Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna get back together here.
This is at Step by Step Montessori in Corcoran, everybody.
Okay, how do I turn my camera around? Hi guys, good morning.
Morning, Chelsea.
I don't know how to turn my screen around. Can't be that hard, right? That's okay.
Oh, you just turned your camera off. Oh, there you go.
Trying to turn my screen around.
Does anybody know where that is on an iPad?
Maybe here. Oh, here. There we go.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll bring you back to the entryway. Our extra chairs. I got new mailboxes.
Cute.
They're really fun. They work really well, much better than folders.
Nice.
Um,
Because not everything is flat, right? That you want to save. Might have some dimension to it.
Sensorial,
Oh my gosh, gorgeous.
practical life, polishing, dressing frames, math, dishwashing,
Nice.
care of the environment. Oh, sprinkles! Here's sprinkles.
So Miss Chelsea has that little hamster in that ball running around all day long with the children. So it naturally slows them down because, right? Chelsea, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, the children know to watch out for Sprinkles when she's on the move. She comes out during the morning work cycle, and rolls around. And the children, Sprinkles is very small. She's a dwarf hamster, so if that ball gets kicked, she could get very hurt. So the children know to watch out for her. And if she gets stuck, they are allowed to give her a little roll to keep her moving along. And she's not allowed in the bathroom. So they also know to watch for her in the bathroom. But yeah, that's our Sprinkles.
Darling.
They're very gentle with her. My hand washing station and language area, snack shelf and food prep. And it's kind of a whole view. Upstairs is book nook, yoga and fidgets. Math. I don't know if we already showed that. Geography, Sprinkles little shelf. On Sprinkles shelf, we have what Sprinkles can and can't eat and a book about hamsters.
Oh,
Art, science, and a small gathering space.
Thank you so much. Oh, look at your metal inset pencils. You're making my heart sing right now. They're all pointing the same.
Oh, I wanted to tell you guys about my floor mats because I used diaper paper holders,
Ah,
diaper paper rolls, and they slide perfectly into
oh my gosh.
the holders.
That's brilliant.
So they stand real nice then in any folder, except, you know, the longer blue ones kind of tilt over, but
Sure.
have
Mm,
a spot and a space
that is fantastic.
upright.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Who
Thank you, Jessica.
does anyone have questions for Chelsea or want to go next?
I am on my computer, so I don't know if I can show it.
Oh, yes. Here, let me get you spotlit. Oh, yeah, Miss Claudia has a beautiful room. She's made a lot of her own materials and furniture. Oh, the screen went black, Miss Claudia.
Oh, it's the
There we
let
go.
it goes black again. So let me go to the entrance. So this is the entrance of the classroom. Let's see. Oh,
Oh, went black. There we go.
I know I have something that closed it. So this is
Oh.
the entrance of my classroom. Then here is like the practical life area. This is snack and lunch stuff, like preparation is everything in here when they set up lunches. I have, is it open? Yes.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, so I have, oops, the polishing, a kind of environment. I have the polishing things and cleaning things for the children to use. Over here is the food work stuff. And then the food works are here right in front of it so they can reset the tray. Peter Rabbit is waiting for his food. So over here is the sensorial area. I don't know if you guys can see it because I am looking like from the top.
Yeah, we can. And she made that table for, or maybe her husband made the table for her red rods.
Yes, he made like for the red rods, brown stairs.
Perfect.
Over here I have the sandpaper letters.
That's such a nice way to display them on the wall so that they're not hiding in a box, right? They're really part of the room. It's great.
Yeah. And then more sensorial over here. Geometry cabinets, and I got this to store the cards so they can just take the drawer with the cards when they do the work. Language. The library corner that I love it because I put like those leaves hanging
Oh,
and 2 chairs. Some of the language works. And the math area over here in this corner.
oh, nice. And I love your big plants and little plants. It really makes the room feel like full of life and nature, you know? It's so good.
And I like the hanging ones too.
Yeah.
I have a lot of hanging plants. It's like most of them are my plants from home because I have my daughter's cat in my house now. And the cat, like, he chews on everything. So I brought all my plants to the classroom.
Thank you, Miss Claudia. So that is Peaceful Valley Eden Prairie. Thank you so much. Who else? Maggie, do you want to show us your room? I'd love for everyone to see your room.
Okay. Hopefully it doesn't, computer doesn't die because it normally needs to be plugged in. So hold on.
So this is step by step in Plymouth. See,
Okay. Wow, this is a lot harder. So this is my shelf that I'm working on, taking it apart. I normally have like my woodworking and fine motor skills onto that because I like to work on wood projects at home. So I'm trying to get the kids more into it. Do.
Yeah, can you show us one of the chowkies that you've made? They're so beautiful.
Sure. I have them in the cabinet right now because we've been having some issues with them. But I have a similar one, well, a table, like a low table that I've made. So that's
Isn't
what
that
I've made.
stunning, you guys? She made that. Oh my gosh.
So it's like resined over.
So
But
good.
here's like my math area, my bead cabinet. Oh, Miss Laura's showing off my chokies that I've made.
Oh my gosh.
Put a lot of work in.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I love how the resin like just brings out the natural wood grain, like the children can really see the wood, you know? That's stunning.
I have my little thing. I have my morning circle, my helpers. I have my zoology culture shelf.
That's a
Oh,
nice holder for your rugs. See how it's flat? And then the children see the working mats, how they can just lay flat instead of trying to like angle them in a vertical thing if it doesn't have holder. That's really nice. Where did you find that? Do you know?
um, either Amazon or not Amazon, Goodwill, or that might have been the one I inherited from Miss Sherry.
Oh, awesome.
My little library.
Cute.
Oh, my sewing shelf. It's a little bare right now because they've been really excited about it.
Oh, yay, I love it. I hope everybody's doing sewing. Sewing is so soothing. It's all
And
about
then
telling them how to do things carefully so they don't poke themselves or each
I
other.
have like polishing and music kind of all on the same shelf because it was stuff I wanted to move on my awake side in the afternoon. But
Sure.
and then my language shelf. Are we seeing stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I got my art shelf and then more like practical life area over there. And then over here I have my dishwashing table.
Nice.
What are we seeing? Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
But
Thank
that's
you, Maggie.
that's mine.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Who else do we have here? Heidi, are you with us? Do you want to show us your room or if you're in Wayzata, CH1?
I don't have a room to show, but Radhika, are you still on?
No, I don't think she is.
I'm just looking at everyone else's.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you all. I think that's everybody that has a room here, but thank you all so much. You put so much work into your rooms and it's just so deeply appreciated. So have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to look through your classroom vision packets with your staff. Okay, talk to you later. Bye. Love the woodworking. So good. Bye, guys.